Distinguished colleagues, let us look at the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, the second day of October 2024. Page 197, page 198, page 199, page 200, page 201, page 202, page 203, page 204, page 205, page 206, Distinguished Senator Titus Zam.
The Senate President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Dr. Titus Gizam. I represent the dynamic people of Benue Northwest Senatorial District. I move that the votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 2nd October 2024 be adopted as so moved. Thank you, Mr. Senate President.
Senator Lawa Kaduna.
Mr. President, distinguished colleague, I second the motion heavily moved by Senator Zam. So moved.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the votes and proceedings of the second day of October 2024 be approved. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Announcement. Distinguished colleagues, the Deputy Majority Leader, Distinguished Senator Ashiru Oyelola Yesa, wishes to inform all distinguished colleagues that his dear son, Ishmael Ashiru, will be getting married to his heartthrob, Folake Bankole. The wedding is scheduled as follows: Saturday, 12th day of October 2024. The venue will be here in the country, but at Balmoral Convention Center, Ikeja, Lagos. Balmoral Convention Center, Ikeja, Lagos. Saturday, 12th October. The Deputy Leader is therefore pleased to request the attendance of distinguished senators at the occasion. This is with his kind esteemed regards. From distinguished Senator Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, letter of appreciation. I wish to most respectfully, on behalf of the Yaradua family, convey our respect and appreciation to the Senate President and all distinguished senators, particularly the Senate, for sending a strong delegation led by the Deputy Senate President distinguished Senator Barao Jibril to identify and attend the burial ceremony of our late mother, Hajia Fatima Dada Yaradua, who passed on who passed away on the second day of September 2024. I wish to also appreciate and acknowledge other distinguished senators who travel from far to attend the burial ceremonies and those who send messages and calls to condole the family. Furthermore, I wish to convey my gratitude to the members of the Senate Committee on Army who paid a condolence visit to express their sympathy and solidarity with the Yaradua family. Your kind words, messages of hope, prayers, and presence during those difficult times have been a serious source of comfort to our family. Most importantly, Mr. President, the solidarity extended to our family by the 10th Senate reveals the camaraderie, the brotherhood, and the unity that defines the 10th Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which reflects in the oneness of our great nation. I wish to further thank the President of the Senate for his long-standing relationship and kindness to our late mother, which dates back to his tenure as governor of Akwa Ibom State. We are hopeful that this relationship will continue with other siblings through generations to come. Finally, I pray that God will reward you abundantly for standing by us and our family during those difficult times. May the soul of our late mother, Hajia Fatima Dada Yaradua, rest in Al Jannah Fidao. Amen. This is sincerely yours, Senator Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, Chairman, Committee on Army, and Chairman, Northern Senators Forum. Thank you for appreciating us. Once again, accept our condolence. Wedding reminder. Transmission from the villa. Distinguished Senator Godswill Akpabio, GCON, President of the Senate, National Assembly, distinguished Senate President, transmission of fiscal policy and tax reform bills to the National Assembly. I write to forward herewith the fiscal and tax reform bills by the Federal Inland Revenue Service for consideration and passage by the Senate. The Nigeria Tax Bill provides a consolidated fiscal framework for taxation in Nigeria. The Nigeria Tax Administration Bill provides a clear and concise legal framework for the fair, consistent, and efficient administration of all the tax laws to facilitate ease of tax compliance, reduce tax disputes, and optimize revenue. The Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill. The Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill reviews or repeals the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act. Let me take this again. The Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill repeals the Federal Inland Revenue Service Establishment Act number 13 of 2007 and establishes the Nigeria Revenue Service to assess, collect, and account for revenue accruable to the government of the Federation. The Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill establishes the Joint Revenue Board, the Tax Appeal Tribunal, and the Office of the Tax Ombudsman for the harmonization and coordination and settlement of disputes arising from revenue administration in Nigeria. The proposed tax bills present substantial benefits to align with my government's objectives and fiscal reform and economic growth by enhancing taxpayer compliance, strengthening our fiscal institutions, and fostering a more effective and transparent fiscal regime. In this way, I am confident that these bills, once passed into law, will encourage investment, boost consumer spending, and stimulate the Nigerian economy. While I trust that the Senate will, in their usual expeditious manner, consider and enact these bills into law, please accept, distinguished Senate President and distinguished senators, the assurances of my highest consideration and regards. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is referred to the Committee on Finance to report to the Senate in 3 weeks, because there are about 5 bills in all on within 3 weeks. Nigerian Finance Senate Committee on Finance, and then the leader of the Senate will guide. Leader, any petition?
Petition.
Yes, Senator Nader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, there's a petition here from Farmers Fairfield Solicitors
Take it.
against Messrs. Idris Smart Global Concept Limited, um, who is a land dealer in New York, in Abuja. According to the petition, he takes money from clients and he doesn't deliver as contracted. If I have your permission, Mr. President, may I lay this petition for proper investigation and reporting back to the House?
May I proceed to lay the petition? Petition is referred to the Committee on Public Petitions Code of Conduct and to report back in 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate. Yes, dismiss Senator Sadiq. Now, but Leader of the Senate, please approach the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, I come under Order 41 and 51. Can I read, please? Order 41. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. For 51, notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. So, Mr. President, this motion is about a boat mishap in Gwajibo Mudi community in Kayama local government area of Kwara State.
Distinguished colleagues, our brother Sadiq had actually approached me about this very urgent motion. Is it the view of the Senate that he be allowed to proceed under these orders? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. Once again, I am Sadiq Suleiman Umar. I represent Kwara North in the Senate of the Federal Republic. A boat mishap in Gwajibo Mudi community in Kayama local government area of Kwara State, sponsored by my humble self. The Senate notes with rude shock the recent boat mishap that occurred in Gwajibo Mudi community of Kwara State on Tuesday, 1st of October 2024, involving at least 200 people, whereby only about 31 persons have been rescued so far. The Senate also knows that the incident occurred in Gwajibo village in Niger State, a neighboring community that shares the same name, where the boat, which was heading for a Maulud celebration, was involved in this terrible accident. Concerned that the boat mishap have become a yearly occurrence in riverine communities across the country and is often accompanied with loss of lives. And also concerned that in spite of the fact that this has become a regular occurrence, nothing has been done to prevent future occurrence in the country. The Senate accordingly resolves to 1. Urge the Federal Ministry of Transport through National Inland Waterways Authority to immediately conduct a survey into a stretch of River Niger in the area with a view to putting safe navigation aids in place. And 2, urge the National Emergency Management Agency to assist the communities with relief materials in order to cushion the effect of this disaster. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Sanguda.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I'm Nasir Sani Zangandara, representing Katsina North. I stand to second the motion as ably moved by Senator Sadiq Umar. I so second.
This motion seems very straightforward, but I don't know whether there is any senator I would like to make any comments. Yes, Wasim.
Thank you, sir. I just want to observe that in the prayers of distinguished Senator Sadiq, he said Federal Ministry of Transport. It ought to be Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so in the absence of any contribution, we go straight into the prayers. Prayer 1, all the Federal Ministry of Transport through the National Inland Waterways Authority to immediately conduct a survey into the stretch of River Niger in the area with a view to putting safe navigational aids in place. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye. Yes, observation.
Sir, Wasiu Eshino concerning Lagos Central. Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy rather than Ministry of Transport.
So, any seconder? Yes, to Senator Orwell.
Senator Orwell Onyeso, Rivers East. I support his motion. It's marine transport.
Colleagues, prayer 1 has been amended to urge the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy to undertake immediate survey into the stretch of the River Niger with a view to putting safe navigational aids in place. Those in support of the prayer 1 as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, all the National Emergency Management Agency to assist the communities with relief materials in order to cushion the effects of the disaster. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let me thank distinguished Senator Sadiq Suleiman for bringing this motion, and I want to pray that with the resolutions here, that the root shock that people experienced in the recent boat mishaps will come to an end, and our soul goes out, our heart goes out to the families, the victims who suffered from this boat mishap, and we pray that this will be brought to an end and may this never be their fortune again. We also know about 200 people were involved, and only about 31 persons have so far been rescued. So we are praying that others will be found alive in due course. And if anybody has lost his life, may the person still rest in perfect peace. Amen. Thank you for bringing this up. Leader of the Senate. Senator Goje. Senator Goje, approach.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, before announcing the first business of the day, Mr. President, let me, on behalf of all of us as an institution, acknowledge and celebrate the decision of the head of government, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to confer on our presiding officers for the President of the Senate the national honor of Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger, as well as the conferment on the Deputy President of the Senate, His Excellency Distinguished Senator Barau Jibril, the national honor of the Commander of the Federal Republic. By extension, Mr. President also conferred national honors on the two presiding officers of the House of Representatives. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I also, on behalf of all of us as a Senate, wish to congratulate our dear colleague, distinguished Senator Kaka Shehu, on the conferment of the highest distinction honor in the legal profession of the Senior Advocate of Nigeria by the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee. And finally, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, on behalf of all of us in the Senate, it's also my pleasure to thank the people of Edo State for electing one of us, distinguished Senator Monday Ikpebolo, as governor in the state, and thereby once again on behalf of all of us congratulate our dear colleague, distinguished Senator Monday Ikpebolo, on his election as governor of Edo State. And following all of this, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I then announce that the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Khalid Ibrahim Mustafa on the Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 528. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 528, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 528, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Eze Kenneth Emeka on the Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 535. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 535, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 535, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Bello Sani Abubakar on the Passport Miscellaneous Provisions Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 570. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Passport Miscellaneous Provision Act Amendment Bill 2024 XB 570, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Passport Miscellaneous Provisions Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 570, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Annie Anthony Okorie on the National Vehicle Production Regulatory Agency Establishment Bill 2024 SB 571. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Vehicle Production Regulatory Agency Establishment Bill 2024 XB 571, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, the National Vehicle Production Regulatory Agency Establishment Bill 2024 SB 571, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Kaila Samaila Dahua on the National Obstetrics Fistula Centers Establishment Bill 2024 SB 573. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Obstetric Fistula Center Establishment Bill 2024 SB 573, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, National Obstetrics Fistula Centers Establishment Bill 2024 SB 573, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Eshinloku Sani Wasiu on the Nigeria Coast Guard Bill 2024 SB 575. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigeria Coast Guard Bill 2024 SB 575, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Nigeria Coast Guard Bill 2024 SB 575, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators, the first order of the day is the second reading of the Northwest Development Commission Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 567. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 2nd October 2024. Mr. President, with your permission, I move, with your permission, Mr. President, before my motion that the bill be read a second time, I would like to take the lead debate on this amendment bill. Mr. President, I'm further guided that in order to save the time of these distinguished chambers, that both the first order as well as the second order of the day can be taken together. The second order being the Southeast Development Commission Act 2024 Amendment Bill If I have your permission, Mr. President, I would like to take the two second reading together. I so move, Mr. President.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues, I write to second the motion that the leader be allowed to take the bill together. At 2 seconds.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved that the two bills, the Northwest Development Commission Amendment Bill and the Southeast Development Commission Amendment Bill, both be taken together. Those in support of the motion as moved and seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, you may proceed to lead the debate on the two bills, on the general principles.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. First, my brief lead debate on the Northwest Development Commission Act 2024 Amendment Bill 2024 SB 567. Mr. President and dear colleagues, I respectfully rise to lead the debate on the general principles of the Northwest Development Commission Act 2024 Amendment Bill 2024 SB 567. The bill was read for the first time on Wednesday, 2nd October 2024. In a nutshell, the bill seeks to amend the Northwest Development Commission Act 2024 to provide for geopolitical representation in the governing board of the Commission and for other related matters. The bill also seeks to reconcile the lacuna that exists in the provisions relating to the appointments of the chairman and the managing director of the Commission by ensuring that the two are not appointed from the same states within the zone, as well as subject the appointments to the confirmation of the Senate in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as altered. With the benefit of hindsight, Mr. President and my dear colleagues, the Northwest Development Commission Bill was passed by the National Assembly earlier this year and was transmitted and assented to by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. However, in the course of implementation of the legislation, it was observed that for effective representation and in line with the principles of federal character, it is imperative that membership of the Commission be extended to the other geopolitical zones of the country. This is in tandem with extant acts relating to the establishment of federal commissions. Accordingly, I urge you all, my dear colleagues, to support the expeditious passage of this bill, as it is straightforward and sacrosanct for the smooth takeoff of the Commission. I thank you. And Mr. President and dear colleagues, my lead debate on the Southeast Development Commission Act 2024 Amendment Bill 2024 SB 568. Mr. President and dear distinguished colleagues, it is again with utmost pleasure that I rise to lead the debate on the general principles of the Southeast Development Commission Act 2024 Amendment Bill. The bill was read for the first time on Wednesday, 2nd October 2024. In a nutshell, the bill seeks to amend the Southeast Development Commission Act 2024 by deleting the words in alphabetical order in Section 13 of the extant Act, which deals with the appointment of the Managing Director of the Commission. The rationale behind this amendment is to ensure that the Chairman and the Managing Director of the Commission are not appointed from the same state. You will recall, Mr. President and my dear colleagues, that the Southeast Development Commission Bill was passed by the National Assembly earlier this year and was transmitted and assented to by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Accordingly, I urge all my dear colleagues to support the expeditious passage of this bill, as it is straightforward and important for the smooth takeoff of the Commission. I thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues.
Just a question. The geopolitical balancing, was it taken into account reasons? in the Southeast Development Commission bill?
Yes, Mr. President, it was only omitted in the Northwest Development Commission. It is in.
Why was it omitted in Northwest Development Commission?
Mr. President, that is the whole essence of this amendment bill. And I just want to say that
the Deputy Senate President in tandem with this amendment. Senate President, you may wish to comment.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I stand to support these two bills because human being is human being. You can never be perfect at any time. It's only God that does everything perfectly. These are mere omissions that were discovered at a later, when the bill was passed. So I don't think we need much debate on this. We should just move forward to get these corrections made. They were just omissions, that emanated for the fact that we are human beings. So, and thank God, this very, very important institution, the highest assembly in the land, has a way of, making this kind of corrections when they occur, because it's an assembly that is full of wisdom, full of the wherewithal to deal with all problems by grace of God. I say so, Mr. President.
Thank you. Distinguished Senator Monguno.
Distinguished President of the Senate, distinguished senators, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. I am interested with the aspect of initially removing the issue of confirmation by the Senate and now bringing it back. Mr. President, distinguished senators, we should always jealously guard and protect the powers of the Senate, more particularly with regard to issue of confirmation of appointments made by Mr. President. We should never, under any circumstance, or even in the wildest of our dreams, surrender this power of confirmation. So I'm happy that the eagle eye of the sponsor of this bill detected this very grievous, omission, and has now brought it back for the purpose of the Senate reclaiming what it belongs to it. Because we should always jealously guard and protect those powers and never under any guise surrender those powers to the executive arm of government. So with this regard, I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill, and in all the other submissions made by the sponsor of the bill and the Deputy Senate President, I adopt same as mine. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Kawo.
Mr. President, my dear and respected colleagues, I am Suleiman Abrahaman Kawu Sumaila Oyapar, representing Kano South Senatorial District, Mr. President, from Kano Northwest. Mr. President, listening to the submission of the leader of the Senate and urging the Senate to support this amendment make me happy, and I think it's one of the best legislation which our people are looking for because of the so many reasons. Yes, we can do mistake on what we are doing, but what is the intent? The intent of having this commission in Northwest with headquarters in Kano means a lot to us. I thought it will touch the life of our people, and we really appreciate Mr. President of signing this legislation. It really shows that he is committed to Federal Republic of Nigeria and his promise of renewed hope agenda really touched the people of northwestern part of Nigeria. Mr. President, I am reaffirming my position and reaffirm the position of my dear brother Senator Barrow I. Jibrin that it is a mistake and it is natural we human beings to make a mistake. Let us amend it. We are earnestly looking for this commission to commence its activities to reduce the suffering of our people. Thank you, the Senate. Thank you, the Senate President, and thank you, Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, by giving us this kind of giant and greater legislation, which translate to commission. Thank you.
Dismissed Senator Abaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Enyin Abaribe. I represent Abia South. This is just, I'm not doing anything. I'm just wanting to point out to the Secretariat that they need to really be very careful when they send something to us. The paper here says, Amendment of the Southeast Development Commission Act 2024, and immediately under it says the Northwest Development Commission Act, the hearing after referred as is amended as follows in this bill, which means that somebody doing copy and paste didn't know what the hell he was doing. Please be careful when you do this, because these are official documents. I so submit.
The clerk, this has not happened before. It has not happened before. It means you didn't look at it. Your observation is sustained. So please, I just want to ask another question. Senator Bongulo said something here. The power of screening and confirmation of major appointees of the federal government, those powers are vested in the Senate. Any law that is enacted by the National Assembly to the contrary is automatically null and void to the extent of that provision, because that provision is constitutional. The constitutional provision takes priority and prevails. So if there is any by mistake or otherwise, the National Assembly should enact any act of parliament and say that it is not the Senate that does screening and confirmation. That automatically is void. That provision is void because the Constitution has already vested the power in the Nigerian Senate. And I think we should be guided, because sometimes people do not understand that everything we do here is in line with the provisions of the ground norm, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that must always be taken seriously as a guiding principle. So having said that, I want to ask a question. Is there anybody who is opposed to this amendment? Okay, those in support that these two bills be now read the second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk of the Senate, you may proceed.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Northwest Development Commission Act 2024, caps 75, to provide for geopolitical representation in the governing board of the commission and for other related matters thereto, 2024, SB 567, second reading. The first one. The second one. I think the second one, right? There's two of them here. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Southeast Development Commission Act 2024 and for other related matters thereto, 2024, SB 568, second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the the Southeast Development Commission Act 2024 and for other related matters thereto, 2024, SB 568. Second reading taken. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Northwest Development Commission Act 2024, Cap 75, to provide for geopolitical representation in the governing board of the commission and for other related matters thereto, 2024, SB 567. Second reading taken. These two bills are now referred to a committee of the whole for expeditious action on the next legislative date. Let me thank our colleagues for their contributions, and particularly for the eagle eye that discovered the provision that says that the Southeast Development Commission Act, the appointment of the managing director and the chairman should move in alphabetical order. What that simply means is that if it's a place like Abia, where Senator Inaya Baribe comes from, they will provide both the managing director as well as the chairman, and the other states will be shut out. So I believe that this amendment that we are now proposing will enable another state to produce chairman, another state to produce a managing director, provided that it rotates among the states of the Southeast. So I thank all of you for your contributions. And leader of the Senate, I know and pray that you'll bring it up very soon so that we can deal with the matter, which is straightforward, in the committee of the whole without any further delay. I thank you all. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators, before I announce the third order of the day, may I most respectfully prepare the minds of our distinguished colleagues to the fact that it will be imperative or absolutely necessary for us to adjourn the proceedings of today's sittings by 1 p.m. because some of our colleagues are eager to catch their flights. Today is actually the last day of campaign in the states where they are having local government election on Saturday, 5th October. That being the reason why the House of Reps did not even sit at all today. Mr. President, the third order of the day is the second reading of the South-South Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024 SB 358. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 22nd February 2024. Mr. President, you may wish to invite most distinguished Senator Asukwo Ekpenyong to move the motion for the bill to be read a second time. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Asukwo Ekpenyong.
Good afternoon. My name is Asukwo Ekpenyong, Senator representing the great people of Cross River South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you for giving me the opportunity and the honor to lead the debate on the general principles of a bill for the establishment of the South-South Development Commission. This bill is one that speaks to the heart of the developmental aspirations of the South-South region, and the bill is co-sponsored by all other 17 senators from the South-South region. This proposed commission will be charged with the responsibility to receive and manage funds that will be channeled towards addressing the critical issues facing the South-South, a body specifically designed to cater to the peculiar needs, challenges, and aspirations of the states within the South-South geopolitical zone, comprising Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, Cross River, Delta, Edo, and River States. Some of the needs include resolving infrastructural deficits that have plagued our region for decades, hindering development and economic growth, combating militancy and communal crises which have not only destabilized local economies, but also tarnished the image of our region nationally and internationally, addressing ecological and environmental degradation caused by decades of oil exploration, leaving our lands desolate, our waters polluted, and our people suffering from adverse health effects, promoting economic integration and creating a blueprint for sustainable development across the region. This is a bill that goes beyond mere administration. It is a lifeline for the millions of people in the South-South who, despite living in one of the most resource-rich regions of our nation, continue to face persistent underdevelopment, poverty, and environmental disasters. Now, some may ask, isn't the Niger Delta Development Commission already fulfilling these functions? Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I will provide some explanations for why the proposed South-South Development Commission is distinct and necessary. The NDDC is a multi-regional body that includes states such as Abia and Imo from the Southeast region, as well as Ondo states from the Southwest region. However, both of these regions now have their own dedicated development commissions, the Southeast Development Commission, which includes Abia and Imo, and the Southwest Development Commission, which includes Ondo State. This arrangement has diluted the focus and resources of the NDDC, making it less effective in addressing the peculiar challenges of the South-South. The South-South requires a commission that is exclusively dedicated to a region that understands our unique issues and can craft tailored solutions for them, just like the other 5 geopolitical regions. Another distinction lies in the way funds are allocated. The Niger Delta Development Commission allocates resources to member states based on the quantum of oil production in each state. While oil production remains crucial, it has led to unequal development where states with higher oil output rightly receive a disproportionate share of resources, leaving others behind. Another case in point as to the necessity of the South-South Development Commission is the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission, HYPADEC, which covers the North Central states as well as Gombe, Kebbi, and Kaduna. This is an agency established by law to address the socio-economic and environmental challenges faced by communities affected by the hydroelectric power project. It is similar in structure and intent to the Niger Delta Development Commission and other Nigerian development commissions. But this very house has passed the North Central Development Commission, the Northwest Development Commission, and the Northeast Development Commission. Distinguished colleagues, the South-South Development Commission will be funded on the principle of equality among the member states, ensuring that every state, whether a top oil producer or not, receives its fair share of resources for development. This new funding structure will focus on regional development, not just oil revenue, and will include other streams of funding such as federal allocations, international grants, and developmental partnership. While the NDDC addresses the Niger Delta oil producing region in a broad sense, the South-South Development Commission will hone in on the specific developmental, economic, and ecological challenges facing the South-South. This tailored focus will enhance the ability of the Commission to deliver timely and effective solutions. In conclusion, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, it is clear that the current development apparatus for the South-South is insufficient to meet the needs of our people. The creation of the South-South Development Commission will provide a dedicated, well-funded body that is uniquely positioned to drive equitable and sustainable development, resolve ecological problems, and address the root cause of conflict in our region. I therefore urge you, most distinguished colleagues, to lend your support to this bill and give the people of the South-South the hope and development that they deserve. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Zam.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished colleagues, Senator Dr. Titus Zam. I represent the good people of Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to support wholeheartedly the bill canvassing the establishment of South-South Development Commission. the arguments advanced by the mover of this motion are clearly unimpeachable. He has mentioned the fact that each of the 6 geopolitical zones in this country seemingly would have their own development commission. So excluding the South-South might appear to be a sort of injustice. There goes a saying that what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Therefore, I would support that the South-South geopolitical zone should equally have their own development commission like the 5 other geopolitical zones of this country. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I've had the privilege of interacting with many of my friends from the South-South region of this country, and I can attest to the fact that even 1 million development commissions will not be enough to attend to the quantum of environmental challenges that this region is bedeviled with. I therefore support this motion, and I call on my colleagues to do same so that we can balance the developmental equation of this country. Thank you, Mr. Senate President and distinguished colleagues.
Yes, distinguished Senator Dixon. Siriaki.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my dear respected colleagues. Henry Siriaki Dixon, Bayelsa West. Mr. President, firstly, let me appreciate, on behalf of all of us senators from the South-South part of our country, for the lead sponsor, our colleague, Senator Ekpeyon, who has led the debate on a bill that is co-sponsored and fully supported by all the senators from the South-South zone. And it goes without saying that that includes the Senate President of the Federal Republic. My dear colleagues, I think that a very compelling case has been made this morning. I'm only rising up to explain further 2 issues. Firstly, that the NDDC that some people may say is already there is not a geopolitical commission created. It was created to manage the issues of development and crisis emanating from oil-producing communities. And that is why the membership and those who benefit from it cut across the Southwest, for example, Ondo in the Southwest, and in the Southeast. And also, anytime oil is found in any substantial quantity, a case can be made for inclusion. The point I'm making is that it is a resource-based commission, because the UMPADEC was scrapped and the NDDC was now put in place to manage the issues arising from oil-producing communities and states. And it was not a geopolitical body created for the South-South, no. That's why the membership clearly includes Ondo in the Southwest, and rightly so. It includes Imo and Abia in the Southeast. But now, having established that, as the lead debater has said, you also have the example of HYPADEC in the North Central. States that are contributing resources, the water bodies that are converted to energy, are a major source of resource. And this country thought it appropriate to establish a body. But that body was resource-based. It doesn't include states that don't have those water bodies and all those entities. So now the country has moved further, where at this point now, Mr. President and my dear colleagues, we are now creating not resource-based centers of development and entities, but development-based entities according to geopolitical zones. And that is why the case is now being made for the consideration of this August Assembly. And I will now, on behalf of all the senators, appeal to all members that we should give this a favorable consideration. As has been rightly said, what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. So that at any time the country is appropriating to development commissions, geopolitical based development commissions, then it will be general. I'm sure if there's any geopolitical zone that doesn't have a bill yet for establishment of a geopolitically based commission, when it comes, I believe all of us will be ready to support it on the basis of equity and parity. So it's on this note, I invite all of us to give this bill a favorable hearing. I so move.
Well, distinguished Senator Seriaki Dixon, ordinarily I think you have done a fantastic explanation that the NDDC was a resource-based commission, and if you produce 1%, you get only 1%. If you produce 5%, you get 5%. And so there is a lot of disparity there because of the fact that the states that make up the NDDC do not produce the same quantum of oil.
As a matter of fact, it's so bad, sir, for right now, Cross River State virtually gets nothing. I don't think they get anything from NDDC when the Supreme Court gave the judgment as to ownership of certain oil wells, or they will be getting very little. So there's a lot of disparity, which will be addressed if we have this geopolitically based development commission.
I agree with you. So yes, we look at if Cross River is getting something now, we delete those things immediately. If they are getting anything, Senator Kawu, Senator Kawu, you have heard what he said, that the NDDC was a resource-based development commission, just like the water, the other one he mentioned. And for us to have geopolitical development, that is important to also include the South-South. And particularly in the South-South, Cross River said is not really getting anything from the NDDC, and the other two regions are also involved. The Southwest is there, producing oil from Ondo. Imo State is there, the Abia State, and all that. So this geopolitical zonal developmental agency is also important for the South-South region, whatever it is, because even the problems they have cannot be solved by even 10 commissions. So what is your opinion? Are you in support?
Mr. President, quite all right, I'm in support. Not now when I supported Northwest Development Commission, and I supported Southeast Development Commission, and I supported Southwest. And initially, when I am Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President on National Assembly came up with the idea of Northeast Development Commission because of the challenge of Boko Haram they face. Now it means each and every zone will have its own commission to tailor the development to the grassroots. I am 100% in support of South-South to have its own. Even though they have a Niger Delta Development Commission, which is not always having Niger Delta alone, it serves some part of Southeast and Southwest, like Ondo and Abia and Imo. I think it is a fantastic idea. We need to do a lot. We need to find a situation where we will take development to the grassroots to challenge, to face our current challenges. I am in support of it, and it is very fantastic idea. And the essence of having a Senate, senators of the Federal Republic, is to do justice to Nigeria. That is the reason why it is based on equality, not because of our presentation. All what we are doing, we must consider Nigeria as our constituency. Nigeria is my constituency, and I supported the idea. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Dan Kwambo. Yes. Senator Dan Kwambo, are you in support of this South-South Development Commission? Distinguished Senator Dr. Kaila.
Mr. President, my name is Dr. Samaila Kaila. To be honest, I like the explanation of distinguished Senator Dixon. And before, I thought having NDDC is enough. But now I understand the difference. However, he convinced me more by saying any state can join the NDDC at a future date if oil is discovered in large quantity.
Exactly.
And I think it is time also, if possible, to change the name of NDDC to something that is not regional, to something that is strictly oil dependent or resource based.
Resource based.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I support the bill in its entirety.
Yes. Distinguished Senator Ojo Sokalo. Dr. Kaila,
sir.
Your mic.
Thank you, Mr. President. In supporting the motion, I think what I wanted to say, I was raising up my hand, Senator Dixon. I've already made justice to things I wanted to say because NDDC is oil-based, but all the other commissions are developmental-based. So there is no way that the Senate or anybody in this Senate will ask South-South not to have South-South Development Commission. I urge my colleagues, because of the nature of South-South, if you go to South-South, you cry. If you go to the part of South-South where this oil is being drilled, these people have no water to drink. They have nowhere to cultivate food to eat. So they should be number one in having the developmental commission, because this commission is developmentally based, not oil based, because there are two different things we are doing. We have the hyperbed in Niger and they're operating, and the other developmental commissions are there. So, Mr. President, I urge my colleagues to support this beautiful bill for the golden eggs, a golden hen that lay the eggs for our nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Dafinone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. Ide Dafinone, representing Delta Central. I want to further the arguments that show the difference between the NDDC and the South-South Development Commission. So I want to start by following on from what Senator Dixon said about OMPADEC, and noting that OMPADEC was to look at the oil and mineral producing areas. NDDC follows on from that, looking at Niger Delta states. And I want to say that if you go to the NDDC Act, the functions and powers of the Commission under Part 2 consistently talk of Niger Delta areas, not Niger Delta states, not South-South states. And so where the resources from NDDC are shared to the Niger Delta areas based on quantum of oil produced, the states administer these resources as functional areas. What is left out, sir, is that there are some states that are members of NDDC that have only 1 or 2 local government areas that produce oil. And in the practical interpretation of the NDDC Act, those local governments are the ones to receive the concentration of benefits when NDDC resources are shared to that state. So as you can imagine, the debate for sharing of resources for a state where only 2 local governments produce oil, the focus of development goes to the oil-producing local governments. And therefore, those other local governments, even though they are part of South-South states, receive little or no benefit from being members of the NDDC. And that, sir, I believe is a fundamental argument for the need for a South-South Development Commission. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished Senator Akopundu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I rise to support this very, very important bill for so many reasons. One, the bill itself has captured the very essence and speaks to the need of even development in the region. I talk from the point of knowledge, having served in that area. In the army, I recall some years back as a major, I was in charge of projects and monitoring, projects implementation and monitoring in Rivers State. And I came face to face with the huge challenges of development, especially in the infrastructural sector that the region faced and still faces. One key aspect of it is the cost of construction. It is very, very expensive to construct roads and other projects. And based on the explanations also captured in the bill, there are some states that do not benefit from what comes from NDDC. So based on this fact, I stand wholeheartedly to support this bill that will deepen development and spread development equitably. I so support, Mr. President. Thank you very much.
Distinguished Senator Salim Mustafa.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Salim Mustafa. I represent Kwara Central. Your Excellency, I rise to lend my voice to this bill that is bringing an even opportunity for development across the geopolitical zones in the country or the regions. I think we don't need to debate further because we already have a template of how other bills have come into this chamber and has received the overwhelming support because, like Senator Kawu said, this is an opportunity to further enhance and collaborate with development agencies so as to take development to the grassroots. On the explanation detailed to us now by Senator Dixon, I really appreciate that effort because for some of us, we were beginning to think, why is South-South going to have two different agencies or commissions that will be saddled with giving developments to just one region? Well, I'm happy that that explanation has further enlightened and broadened the minds of some of us here. So on that note, I want to support wholeheartedly this bill. And on a lighter note, I hope you will not remove Cross River from Niger Delta, because if you do so, some of us will go to court that you should return their oil blocks back to them. Akwa Ibom should return their oil blocks.
I want to rule Senator Salim Mustafa out of order with his last statement. You are hereby ruled out of order. No comment from me. Shebuba, distinguished. You have something to add?
Yeah, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Shebuba, representing Bauchi South. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, before today, I hold a different opinion on this bill, because I will recall the very first day this bill was brought here, I was among the senators that objected to it. But having carefully listened to the lead debate read by distinguished colleague Senator Asupo, and a convincing argument adduced to it by Senator Seriaki Dixon and Kawu Sumaila, I have therefore concurred. I have supported this motion and this bill, and I therefore call on my distinguished colleague to support the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the truth is, if you look at it, I was also hesitant, personally, at the beginning. But when I look at the fact that the NDDC has 3 regions, it has, in fact, 3 geopolitical zones. It has the Southeast geopolitical zone, it has the Southwest geopolitical zone, it has the South-South geopolitical zone. In the Southeast geopolitical zone, you actually have 2 out of the 5 states within the NDDC. And then it is also resource-based and it also local government-based. It goes to the areas that actually produce oil. So you may have like 28 local governments and only 2. Like for instance, in Southwest, in Ondo, it's mostly like the local governments within the Ilaje area. Ilaje and so and the same thing happens even in Akwa Ibom. You go there, you see the local governments of Eastern Obolo and Ibron and maybe a Eket area. The others are not part of it, even though Uyo is not part of it. You know, so when I looked at the fact that yes, with the judgment of the International Court of Justice about Cross River said losing Bakassi, the oil wells were within Bakassi, so that area has gone to Cameroon. So it is not that Akwa Ibom took oil wells, no. It is that the International Court of Justice, where the oil wells were located, that area was ceded by Nigeria to Cameroon, and automatically Cross River State became hemmed in, and therefore no longer a littoral state, and has no access to the sea, and therefore cannot own the oil wells in the sea. So there's been a lot of propaganda, and one of the things we need to do is not just to educate senators, is to educate Nigerians, so that people would stand and say, oh, they took their oil well. It's like a child that finishes writing WAEC, and when the result comes out, you ask, what did you score? You say, they gave me. They won't say, I scored. So this one, they will not, they will say, they took. They will not say, the judgment eliminated my state from being a literal state. And that is the same confusion that Senator Sani Mustafa has. So I'm in sympathy with your position because it's based on ignorance. So, distinguished Senator Karimi, you may wish to add your voice.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent the people of Kogi West. Mr. President, there is this common adage, it's a biblical adage, that those who walk on the altar must also eat from the altar. South people, they walk on the altar and they must be fed from the altar. Yes, Niger Delta Development Commission. Kogi State is an oil producing state. And as soon as possible, Kogi State will also be part of Niger. You don't know? Yeah. Kogi State.
In view of the fact that you are not opposing the bill.
Yes, sir.
May we tell the chairman of the Senate Committee on Senate Services to service South also, and then and leave the issue of Kogi State for a further discussion. But if you wish to. If you want to continue with Kogi, then continue. Let's hear from you.
Okay, sir. It will soon be concluded.
It will soon be discussed, but let us discuss South.
Okay. So I'm fully in support of this.
Thank you.
Bill. South deserve more development. And I believe by passing this bill, it will bring development into areas that are not benefiting from the Niger Delta Development Commission in the South.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like the Deputy Senate President to round up the discussions.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I support this bill because I think what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. Yes, the Niger Delta area has the NDDC, and the NDDC, of course, we know it's a commission that was created to try to mitigate the problems being faced by the oil producing areas. Of course, we know the environmental degradation, happening due to oil exploitation in these areas. So it was primarily created to take care of those issues, those challenges, environmental challenges, and so on and so forth. And it's not restricted to Niger Delta alone. It's something that is spread to states in the southeast and so on and so forth. Therefore, since we have created commissions for other zones, like my zone has gotten one, there's nothing wrong, and I support the idea that the commission to take care of the South in terms of helping to further develop the zone should be created. That's okay. That said, I will also want the name. Well, thereafter, of course, when the commission has been created, then we have to look at the NDC again, maybe change the name to Oil Area Producing Commission, so that will include states like Gombe and Bauchi that are now oil producing. And of course, Kogi, as said by Senator Karimi, can now be brought on board. So the name, Ogun State, and Ogun State, and Lagos State, and Lagos State, and Lagos State. And I've said it. I said Gombe and Bauchi State. I said it first. So the name and the ad should be changed, right, to now include other oil producing areas that are not in the present NDDC Act. So I support this. But then, as I said, there should be a revisit to the NDDC Act so as to, bring in other states, as I said earlier, for purpose of emphasis, so that the Commission will now be strengthened to take care of the states that are oil producing, so as to help them mitigate the challenges, the problems they are facing, environmental problems that they currently they are facing due to oil exploitation activities going on in those areas. I so support, Mr. President.
Yes, I want to say that had always been in my mind, that states that will eventually produce oil in commercial quantities should be allowed to join the NDDC. There is no doubt about that, because it's resource-based. And I think it is the same parliament that will tinker with it when the adequate data is given to us. And again, the NDDC, as you see, was a creation of necessity because of over 60 years of oil exploration and exploitation that have damaged the ecosystem, damaged the soil, damaged even the air that they breathe, and caused a lot of health challenges, including cancer. So any state that is joining the NDDC, I hope that whatever oil is being produced there, they will take measures to avoid the kind of ecological destruction of the ecosystem that happened over 50 years in the Niger Delta, that you may never be able to recover part of the soil as a result of pollution and oil spill. You may never plant anything. You may never be able to get healthy fish. You may not even have oxygen going down for the fishes in the water. And poverty is endemic because the people have to drink from very polluted water. So we'll be happy when that time comes to open up so that other states can join. But the best practices must be enforced by the NNPCL when they discover oil anywhere, so that the tragedy that are befalling the Niger Delta will not befall any state that produces oil and joins the NDDC in future. On that note, I'd like to ask, is there anybody that is opposed to this bill? Is there anybody that is opposed to this bill? Those in support that this bill be downgrade a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the South-South Development Commission, charged with the responsibility to receive and manage funds from the Federation account allocation and other sources, donations, grants, aids for the integration, development, resolution of infrastructural deficits, militancy, communal crisis, as well as tackle ecological and environmental problems, and for related matters 2024 SB 358 second reading.
A bill for an act to establish the South-South Development Commission, charged with the responsibility to receive and manage funds from the Federation account allocation and other sources, donations, grants, aids for the integration, development, resolution of infrastructural deficit, militancy, communal crisis, as well as tackle ecological environmental problems, and for related matters 2024. Second reading taken. This bill is now referred to the Committee on Special Duties to revert to the Senate within the next 1 week. Let me thank our distinguished colleagues for the unanimity of support for the South-South Development Commission, and thank particularly distinguished Senator Siriaki Dixon for the differentiation that they have been able to elucidate before the chambers. That is the power of advocacy and the power of research. A lot of people who are not convinced are now convinced of the need to have this geopolitical developmental commission within the South-South region to assist local governments and states that are not even within the NDDC fold in terms of development. So I thank you all, and I pray that we conclude this, especially expeditiously through the Special Duties Committee, and by next week we bring this to conclusion. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate.
Well, Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I'm further directed to announce the fourth order of the day, being the second reading of the Police Service Commission Institute Establishment Bill 2024 SB 564. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Thursday, 26 September 2024. Mr. President, you may wish to invite most distinguished Senator Abdul Hamid Malam Madori to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
The distinguished Senator Malam Madori.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Ahmed Abdulhamid Malam Maduri, representing the people of Jigawa Northeast. Mr. President, thank you for the permission to lead the debate on a bill that holds great significance for the security and effective administration of our country. A bill for an act to establish the Police Service Commission Institute to serve as a center for the administration and management of the Commission, and to determine the standard of knowledge and skills to be acquired by the personnel of the Police Service Commission in the oversight of the Nigerian Police Force functions. This bill, which was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Thursday, September 26, 2024, seeks to establish the Police Service Commission Institute in Cabo, Kano State. Effective oversight of any security institution is crucial in promoting accountability, transparency, and professionalism. The Nigerian Police Force is an institution that plays a pivotal role in maintaining law and order, protecting lives and property, and ensuring public safety. However, as with any large organization, it requires structured oversight to ensure its personnel act within the bounds of the law, protect human rights, and maintain the public trust. The Police Service Commission, as the oversight body of the Nigerian Police Force, has the mandate to manage the promotion, discipline, recruitment, and general administration of the Nigerian Police Force. But as we all know, oversight is not an easy task. The role of the PSC requires personnel who are not only skilled in management, but also well-versed in law enforcement procedures, human rights, and governance. The objective of the bill is stated in page 2 from 1 to 9. Because of time constraint, I will go to page 3. Mr. President, distinguished senators, we must ask ourselves the necessity of this bill at this time in our dear nation. The answer lies in the security landscape of our country. Nigerians are increasingly demanding more from their police force. They want to see a force that is accountable, transparent, and professional in the execution of its duties. To meet this demand, the Police Service Commission must be empowered to effectively oversee the police force. In supporting the establishment of the Police Service Commission Institute, it is important to acknowledge the existence of other specialized training institutions in Nigeria. Examples include the Training and Research Institute for the EFCC, the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies NILS for National Assembly, the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, and the National Judicial Institute for the Judiciary. In conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished senators, this bill is not just about creating another institution. It is about creating a system that ensures accountability, professionalism, and effectiveness in our policing. By establishing the Police Service Commission Institute, we are making a bold statement that oversight in Nigeria will not be an afterthought, but a core component of governance. Therefore, I urge you all to support this bill as it is a vital step toward enhancing the security and safety of our nation. Let us work together to ensure that both the Nigerian Police Force and the Police Service Commission operate at the highest level of professionalism, integrity, and synergy. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Yohana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, distinguished colleagues. Amos Yohana, Adamawa North. I rise to support that this bill be read the second time for the one purpose of its importance. In a democracy, there must always be somebody who will hold an institution to check. As a Nigerian police force, they need a very strong institution that will oversight them and hold them to account. There are many practices that we see every day from the Nigerian police that demand that we have a very strong institution like the Nigerian Police Service Commission to oversight them. But they on their own, without proper training and equipment, they will not be able to provide the sufficient oversight that they need to give to the #1 internal security institution in the country. By having this institute, I am sure that the PSC will be equipped, both in training and equipment, to be able to provide the necessary oversight over the Nigerian police force. With this, Mr. President, I support in totality that this bill be read and be passed. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, my distinguished brother, Yohana. Distinguished Maduri, you can see that there is really nobody opposing the establishment of this. No senator is opposing the establishment of this institute. So I will put the question. Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk of the Senate. You will now read the bill for the second time.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I bill for an act to establish the Nigeria Police Service Commission training institutions to serve as a center for the administration and management of the institute and determining the standard of knowledge and skill to be acquired by personnel of the Police Service Commission on its oversight functions over the Nigerian Police Force, and for related matters 2024 SB 564 second reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Police Force Service Commission training institutions to serve as center for the administration and management of the institute and determine the standard of knowledge and skill to be acquired by the personnel of the police force on its oversight functions over the Nigerian Police Force and for related matters 2024. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Police Service Commission Training Institute to serve as a center for the administration and management of the institute, determining the standard of knowledge and skill to be acquired by the personnel of the Police Service Commission on its oversight functions over the Nigerian Police Force and for related matters 2024. Second reading taken. This bill is now referred to the Committee on Police Affairs to report back to the distinguished Senate within the next 2 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the Senate do stand adjourned till Tuesday, Mr. President, that the Senate do stand adjourned to Tuesday, the 9th of October 2024. And in doing that, I equally move that we step down the rest of the items on the agenda to enable us to take them on the next legislative day. I so move, Mr. President.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the motion assembly moved by the Senate Leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues. The leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate, did you say 9th? Did you say 9th?
Tuesday, 8th October 2024 at 11 a.m., Mr. President.
Minority Leader, he has amended his motion that we adjourn to Tuesday, 8th instead of 9th.
Oh. Thank you, President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the amendment made by the Senate Leader that the House will convene on Tuesday, October 8th. I so second.
Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this House stands adjourned to Tuesday, the 8th day of October 2024 at 11 a.m. prompt. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned to Tuesday, the 8th day of October 2024.